Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be back with you on this Wednesday. It's Wednesday already. Wednesday morning to continue our teachings on the second noble truth this week. I'm happy to be back with you again on, very short comment on the causes and conditions of teaching Dharma, mindfulness, whatever it is. It only goes so well based on the causes and underlying causes and conditions. Meaning my son had an accident yesterday, nothing tragic, but it cost me a night of sleep, and he's home with me. So we made A, get interrupted. He might come by and need something. And B, I might not be as clear, I might not be as good with the foreign language as usual. So please ask again. If I don't make sense of myself, let me know and I'll try to explain again. And I hope that together we maneuver this anyways. Okay. So lovely to be with you. As you already discovered, there is the chat box for your questions, the technical problems, and also, and it was wonderful the last days, your sharings and your questions, your comments. I so much appreciate that. Yeah. And continue to use it. I will respond to everything in the end. First of all, I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes and then I shall meditate with you on some theme of the day. Okay, let's go and get started. Today, very important topic. I think it applies to literally all of us. The difference between a healthy desire and clinging. We talked a lot about clinging the last couple of days, and I don't want to leave this teaching on its own without maybe exploring with you, working with you a bit on the difference, almost the different taste, the different felt sense between a healthy, appropriate desire, or let's say a healthy, appropriate need. These are the terms I want to use for the helpful, the necessary, the natural, the organic part, and the clinging. Yeah, I saw a lot of people in my teaching life and in my own relationship with myself suffer because this difference wasn't made clear enough. Yeah. So we all might know situations where an urge or a hunger, a thirst, a drive, an impulse is clearly unhelpful or turned out to be unhelpful in retro perspective. Yeah, because we said yesterday they can be so convincing before and while acting upon them. It's only afterwards that we wake up. Yeah. So we might have sacrificed other needs and other wishes and maybe a sense, something like values, like a deep sense of integrity at sometimes, which is a beautiful value. And I would also consider it a beautiful need, yeah, integrity. And we overstep all those boundaries because the urge and the hunger and the clinging is pushing us to get something or to experience something. Or some of you might know this, the urge to be with someone, yeah, the urge to be with someone. The storytelling mind says, I need this relationship, I need that other person, and I will sacrifice all kind of boundaries. Yeah, I need the sense of being connected. Only he or she or they will keep me safe. Yeah, I need to work so much. I need to think about this so much because only this will keep me safe and happy and contented. And we overstep, we almost overlook, we become blind, totally blind at times to all the other needs, yeah, all the other needs and the boundaries, which are there as well. This is the narrow gaze of clinging. Or we avoid or flee or ignore some situation, yeah, impulsively. No, can't handle that. Don't want to be in touch with that, yeah. And it's almost an impulsive yanking away from, yeah, impulsively distracting, impulsively ignoring, yeah, which can cost us a lot as well. So, but in all this, we need to remind the middle way. Yes, there is harm to clinging. Yes. And we all know that from the smaller and the larger experiences in our lives. But does this truly honestly mean that all desires and wishes and goals and dreams are harmful? It can't. It simply can't, because this teaching of the Buddha at least would not exist if this were the case. Yeah. If we hadn't any wishes and desires or goals, what would happen? First of all, if we wouldn't have any needs, if our system would not be built in some sort that the heart, mind, and the body sends through their needs and say, can you please take care of me? We would die. Yeah, without an awareness of what this body, heart, and mind needs, we would die. So it's okay for them to be there. It's necessary for them to be there. And what about the wishes and the desires and the goals? Without them, in my understanding, there would be very little motivation to act. Yeah, it would just be okay with whatever is. Yeah, why should I be acting on anything? Why should I try to go to work today? What difference would it make? Yeah, if I would not be connected with a wish, a goal, a value, a need, there would not be no practice. Yeah, we would have no interest to gain wisdom, to learn something, to heal something, to explore the depth of something. There would be no path, and there would be no dharma, and there would be no practice. And even if you're not thinking of practice as something which is a necessary part of life, there would be no care either. Yeah, no care for you and no care for others, because care, being in service of, is always being in service of a process. Yeah, yeah. I wish for you to be healthy and safe and connected with each other. That is all the motivation for teaching here. Yeah, if that wasn't the case, to make the most humble and small of differences, what would be the need for us to be here this morning? So there needs to be some place for wishes and desires and goals. And the Buddha had another word for that. He called that chanda. A healthy, beautiful chanda. Yeah. Held very lightly. Held in patience, and held in an openness of some sort that it can develop in many different ways. Yeah. That is a beautiful chanda, a wish, a desire, a goal even, which is held very lightly, which we're not depending upon. And same with our needs. So what indifference to that then is a clinging. And I wish for you to listen to all of that, and maybe get a felt sense. Maybe some example comes up from where you notice those one of those many minor clingings we experience over the day, and maybe you can remember it. And I find that one of the most important practices is to distinguish between a desire, a wish, a need, and a clinging on the soma level, on the physical level. As we talked yesterday about this strength of the narrative, yeah, at least in my practice, that was often something I could not work well within the heat of the moment. Yeah, it's so convincing. Any point you try to make against it, it will be brushed off very quickly. So what I came to trust deeply in my practice is to say, if the body feels like this, if there is this immense urge, this sometimes with the inner critic, almost pressure from outside inwards, yeah, like being condensed into something very small and weak, yeah. I don't trust this as much. I've seen many times after the clinging ended that this is not the truth and this is not the reality of things. So I come to distrust this narrative behind the physical sense of being pushed and pulled forward, yeah, in this absolute, harsh, urgent manner. Yeah. The difference between desire and clinging. And the Buddha, in the second Noble Truth, he spoke about that, but I really want to point to that again. he gave a couple of suggestions for us to distinguish as well. And he said some of the characteristics of that tanha are that clinging is orientating our attention away from what is here and now and the many experience, almost like a broad awareness, and it gets us to the one thing which we want more of. Yeah, so it picks our attention, places it upon one experience, one idea, one goal. And you can almost check that in and say, okay, can I get a pause for a moment and just like be with this moment? Everything within, like the aspect of clinging its creatures to say, nah, we can't, we need to think about that, do something for that, figure that out, find a solution, find still a way how to become a better person, how to become a more skilled person, etc., etc. Easy example, like I love those examples from daily life. After the accident yesterday he had a sports lesson and fell upon his back, and everything was fine, but the hours were getting late. I was worried about my son, and my mind came up with this fantastic idea that I could stand just next to his bed, and listen whether he's breathing. Great. And then I noticed the clinging coming up, thanks to teaching this week with you. I heard him breathing, everything was fine, boy was fast asleep. I went to my bed. After 5 minutes, the thought pops up, well, wouldn't it be better to check again? Well, he couldn't be breathing now, And then the rational part says, well, we can do this game all night long. And the clinging part says, yeah, I'm not interested in that argument. Stand up, go, do something. And if you don't, I just summon up all kind of fears and anxieties and images, like, oh gosh, can the clinging mind bring up images? Stand up, and this imperative, this imperative within the clinging. It feels unbearable to stay in that moment. The whole body feels like this unbearable place to be in at times. And sometimes not, sometimes in the minor clingings of the day, you will notice just this little tug, just this little not quite happy with this moment, not quite enough, not quite intense enough, beautiful enough. Let's get something else. And you see how advertisement sometimes really fuels that craving. Like, you deserve that and this. You deserve to have or to buy or to treat you with this and that. And saying, wow, how much are we living in a world which constantly fuels these painful clinging aspects within by constantly waking up that small little hunger, that small little discontent, the small little ideas of not quite enough, not quite beautiful, not quite intense, not quite this and that enough. So we're almost a lot of the time triggered in that faculty of the mind. And what I also notice is to say, well, clinging is almost like a one-way street. When I lose when a healthy desire for me shifts into clinging, I'm losing the openness of having opportunity and choice. There is this need for, I had the example yesterday, hunger. There is this need for connection. Let's stay with the connection, or let's stay with a sense of safety. Let's make a safety example, because some of you wrote to me about safety. A lot of the mind goes into clinging, saying safety will only be in that place with that person in that way. When he speaks to me like this, when she behaves towards me like that, that will give me a sense of safety. Now, the mind is not stupid. The person might even say the right things and do the right do the right things. Unfortunately, not exactly with checking in with my son. The moment is passing by. And you know what? The clinging is not satisfied. It's not, the hunger hasn't calmed down. It has fed upon that morsel. It has been given the kind word, the confirmation of the relationship. And because it has a big, big belly, it digests it, and it is just like a droplet within an ocean. It goes unnoticed so quickly that it's gone. And that is another beautiful way to differentiate a clinging from a desire. Yeah, to say the clinging is almost bottomless. I noticed that sometimes clinging with craving for buying a book. Yeah, the mind wants some form of entertainment. Buy a book. That's my mind of going for entertainment, is reading something. And I buy a book and I read the first couple of pages, and all of a sudden the mind goes to say, you know what, maybe that was the wrong book. Can we give it back and have another book? I think, oh, here you go again. And to notice that bottomlessness, and to notice the one-way street character. Only under these perfect circumstances I can be fed and I can be happy. And then to be very aware that even in the rare moments that happens, it's not lasting long. A healthy distrust to the narrative of clinging, that I can be nourished in that way. And a healthy awareness for the second characteristic, which is fascination and obsession with something. The attention all goes to that one thing, all to that one theme, even if everything, even in a slightly challenging situation with my son, when everything has been said and done, been to the doctors, taken care of him, boy is fast asleep, it's very hard, isn't it, at times? Take the attention and bring it elsewhere. The mind wants to run around that in circles. Yeah. Can I still do something? Can I still, yeah? If I would go back to the underlying need, like it's unraveling, there's this sense of, shock and grief. There's this sense of noticing the fragility of life. And the really best thing would be to sit on the cushion and to be with that and to breathe with that and to calm this heart mind here. Yeah, this is what needs to be taken care of. But the clinging goes out, and it goes and focuses and zooms into some idea, some image, some fantasy, some goal, and is consumed by it. And you can test that out just by trying to bring, like we do in meditation many times, the attention elsewhere. You will notice how glued, sticky glue, how sometimes it's claws and saying, I'm not going to let go of that. I've bitten into that and I'm gnawing on that theme. I won't let it go. Yeah. And that is for me sometimes the place where I really need some oomph and some willpower in my meditation practice. I hardly ever do that if I want to settle and feel calm, and I trust the slow process into a wholesome, steady samadhi collection of the heart mind. But if there is something luring, like such a clinging, which is ramping up and all the energy and won't let me sleep, this is sometimes where I really say, okay, now breathing meditation, in and out and in and out, to almost to dissolve that sticky glueness. Okay. A healthy desire, just a few words to differentiate that from the positive, or let's say the nourishing, the supportive, healthy desire, is spacious and caring. Yeah. We know, for example, feeding my body today would probably be beneficial. Yeah. If I feed him this or that, that would probably bring some sense of satisfaction, belly will feel full. Yeah. But my happiness in such trivial moments of simply satisfying a need, my happiness doesn't depend upon it, does it? Yeah. To say, of course, yeah, I feed the body, but I'm already aware at breakfast that it will be hungry by midday again. Like, thank the devas, that my happiness does not depend on my expectation for the body to be fed at any time for good. Yeah, it's just a reoccurring need. Yeah. Same thing with, for example, connection. Yeah, I know calling my friend will be probably beneficial to meet my hunger of connection, but she might not be in the mood. She might not even have time. So my happiness already in the moment I'm calling her is not depending upon her having time. Yeah. If I leave some space open, saying, well, if she doesn't have time, what other options do I have? What other resources do I have? I'm opening up myself a whole large field. If I say safety and a sense of deep connection, protection even, can only be gained through my partner, I'm setting us both up for failure. Yeah. Because he or she, they will not be in the mood all the time. They will not have all the resources all the time. They will not have the mindful ways to communicate all the time. Yeah. So do I have resources other than the other? Yeah. What about other people and communities and sanghas and even myself and even this body and nature to give me a sense of groundedness, belonging, what else? Protection, care, whatever it is. Very important that we remain within the spaciousness. A healthy desire, a healthy need has the sense of spaciousness. Maybe also this sense of awareness that no one and nothing will ever feed the need completely. Yeah, Buddha said it beautifully. Drop by drop, the bucket shall be filled. There is no one who can fill even a single bucket of a single need completely and forever. We will always need to have different resources. Yeah. And this whole caring for the situation, for the needs, it's really an intention of caring. It's not an intention of I have to. It's not an intention which is belittling. It's not an intention which is threatening or pressured. It comes out of this. It's suffused with care. What does this situation need, my love? What do we need right now? Dear body, dear heart, dear mind, I'm listening. What is your story? What is the underlying need underneath this craving, underneath this clinging? Can you tell me a bit? And then I shall take care. Okay. Enough words for this morning. I hope this was partially helpful. Now I see questions coming up. We will talk about them in a couple of minutes. And first of all, we're going to practice with this heart mind this morning, and maybe have this listening conversation with him about its needs and wishes and hopes and dreams. So let's tune in, find some way to sit, to lie down, to stand. Take yourself some time to arrive in this location wherever you are. Arrive in this moment, this morning, or midday, or evening, whatever it is for you. When we start this listening exploration, we start potentially within the body. Now see whether the body is okay to meet this morning. For some of you, this might not be the case. If any feelings of overwhelm come up, feel free to maybe to listen into this room you're in. See some colors, become really aware of the place, the location, the time of day. So if you listen into this body, you might notice all kind of sensations. You might also notice how the mind is very quick in attaching a story, a label, a description, that this means that to the sensations. That's the mind trying to make sense, trying to sort things, to provide solutions, clarification, a bit of order in the chaos. That's fine. Sometimes you might also notice that there are some very loud voices within, very strong sensations. Maybe the unpleasant ones can be the strongest at times, or those which we feel most puzzled or threatened by. If you have such a strong physical sensation at the moment, is it possible to listen for a breath or two clearly to it? I hear you, I see you, I notice, I recognize my love. And then very gently making space for more than that. It's okay, thank you. I'll come back to you. But now let me just see what else is there. You might still notice a bit of a tug, a bit of a urge, pull back to that unpleasant experience. Just notice. Notice this easy path back to the unpleasant, the problematic, the threatening, the unsolved. Some days it might be so strong that you really have not much choice. On those days where we notice the urge, the clinging, the push and the pull being so strong that we notice that we can't fully control attention, can't fully have no total control over our heart minds, humbling moments. Can we have some compassion to say, wow, not easy to be with such a strong push and pull, such a strong drive and urge within. And you might want to include your thoughts, listening a bit to your thoughts. The commenting, planning, the worrying, remembering of past experience comes back. Can we gently listen to that, less to the content, less to the questions and imperatives to act, and less to the and a bit more to the underlying felt sense. You might notice that the thoughts are coming from a place of, let's say, anger or fear, from a general sense of restlessness within the heart and the mind, just buzzing. Not even a very problematic sense, maybe, just buzzing. Some of you might notice a tiredness and a fogginess this morning, a rawness. And some of you might notice some lightness and some beauty. It's very welcome as well. And what if our job in meditation this morning is to just listen? Just listen. Sometimes the urge might pull you along on some thought journey, some image journey. That's okay. And when you have the opportunity to come back to that, just listening. And you don't have to know, and you don't have to find a solution, and you don't have to be wise about that or know it all. And you lean back into that attitude of, okay, I'm just keeping you company, dear heart mind, just being present with you. Sometimes you sit with a resistant mind, a grumpy mind. I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't want to be here today. I don't want to be myself today. I don't want to do any of the things I have to today. Then just listen to that grumpy mind this morning. You don't have to soothe it. You don't have to calm it. You don't have to improve the mood by one bit. Lean back into the listening. And of course, sometimes this listening can get too much, just like when we listen to a good friend, which we dearly love. But our hearts might not have the capacity to listen forever. And same with our heart, minds, our bodies. You might notice a point where it gets wobbly, where it gets a bit reactive. And this is the time to pause the listening and cradle in the mind in something which makes it feel okay. Cradle the attention in some slightly pleasant, mildly or just okay feeling. You could open up your eyes for that and look at something. Could be helpful to have pictures close to your meditation place or something beautiful, inspiring to reconnect you with a nourishing image, quality. we can bow to body, heart and mind. They might have more to say, important things to say, necessary things to say. But when our possibility to listen dwindles, we bow to them and say, honey, I'll be back later. You're dear to me, I care for you. But I want to do so from a place of resource, broadness, care, kindness. I need a pause, love. And for a few more minutes in silence, find something to pause in. And to encourage and to give permission to do so. Say, yes, this is important. We do that for a couple more breaths. And there is a wholehearted invitation to do so. The other things can wait for a few minutes. And then the gentle invitation to start moving again, to move fingers and toes, to stretch, to touch, to yawn, to sigh. And to then bring slowly and gently your attention back to the screen where we meet again. Good. Now would be the time for you to share your experience. Anything came up today in form of questions, persistences, own experience, mirroring or opposing whatever I said, feel free to share it, or anything in response to the teachings of the past days. Savina has already written a question, which I quickly come to. You're asking, do you think that clinging could be useful at times? Well, that depends very much on what we mean by clinging. This is why I made this, I acknowledge, a bit artificial difference between desires and healthy wishes on the one and clinging on the other. It's really on a scale, moving scale there. It's not so black and white as the words might give us an image. But, well, Savina, would you like to make an example of some form of clinging you find helpful? Maybe that could help us to see what you mean and maybe discover more together. Yeah. And while you type, just something which came up for me in the meditation, which I love to be remembered of, is how slow of an animal our bodies and heart minds are. Our mind, the mind can be so quick. Like with the situation with my son, yeah. That situation of threat and danger, it's over, yeah. But I noticed turning inwards into my heart mind this morning, it's all still so agitated, yeah. More than 12 hours later, yeah. And to say, can we acknowledge and be aware of that the mind is so quick, and our bodies and our hearts can be much slower than that. And a lot of what we live with is an echo to experience of the path, yeah, shadows of the shadows of the past, echoes to the past, which create like overlayers over the present, and to take care of them gently, and to discern them from what is actually right here, right now, in the moment. Yeah. So that was my teaching this morning for myself. So Penny wrote, she noticed a strong sadness, quite raw and painful. It didn't have any words or demands. It was still beautiful, Penny. It didn't want anything from you other than maybe just acknowledgement, company, presence. And isn't it lovely to notice sometimes sometimes that is just enough. Our precious, beautiful presence with something. And that is what this meditation can teach, is that we don't have to have the solutions and the knowledge and the wisdom and the words and yada yada, yeah. To just be with and to acknowledge the process with that. Maybe I need to be with and meet it again and foremost notice when I have had enough of the meeting, I need to replenish myself again. Good. Lynn is writing, thank you so much for your teachings. Thank you. Yeah, I will say that to my son. At the moment, he's allowed to watch TV, which is definitely a treat at that time of the day. So he considers himself to be pretty lucky. Okay. Savina's writing, clinging for persisting with beautiful. Yeah. So what about notions like, oh, not so beautiful word. I will find another one. Discipline, persistence, staying with something, even though there might be some resistances, some obstacles on the way. Is this clinging? Beautiful. Yeah. How do we distinguish that? You will notice the difference between a clinging and a healthy desire to be persistent with something, to accompany something the long way, for example, to develop some skill or learn something new, within the moments where there are those obstacles. Yeah, learning something new or healing something or trying to work with a pattern, and then you go through the next wave. Yeah, whatever that is, like a sense of failing something or some pattern repeating. Here is the inner critic again. I thought I got rid of it, and now he's back. The clinging will bring you into a sense of loss. I haven't made it. I'm not able to. I'm too stupid. I'm too inexperienced. I can't do this. Yeah, because there's a lot of self around that usually as well. So the lows will be very low and the highs will be very high. Yeah, whereas a gentle holding of that caring wish, yeah, has some more sense of spaciousness for me. Has some more sense of seeing the thing as a process rather than a once in a lifetime attempt to, with a lot of oomph and willpower, get something and do something. So how are you relating to the moments where there is an obstacle and a hindrance, yeah, on that trajectory of a path and a process? I would say that, at least in my personal experience, they can find a difference between the clinging and the healthy desire of persistence. I hope that was clear enough. So what else comes up for you? And thank you for all the good wishes for my son. I will let him know that he's held in this Sangha Life community for quite some years now. Thank you so much. Jasmine is sharing. Coming from a place of not knowing, disregarding my own needs, I get caught in trying to work out what is right for me. Yeah, this can lead me more into a freeze response. Yeah, any thoughts on how to take care of choice paralysis? Yeah, beautiful. Choice paralysis comes up for me whenever I think exactly what you wrote, that there is a right solution, a right response. Because that opens up a very black and white way of decision making, where I say, okay, I can't do anything before in the many options I might have to meet that need, I find the right way to respond to that. So it assumes one right, everything else wrong, and I need to figure it out. That is usually a bit of what produces the freeze, and even more so if we learned maybe in our past that choosing the not so right response will come along with punishment of any sort. Yeah, someone ridiculing us for making stupid choices, or someone blaming us, or someone judging us, belittling us. That can add to the freeze response. What if we lighten up this whole question a bit and just take the assumption to say, well, there are many ways to meet a need, and most of the times I meet a certain need, I'm excluding some other needs from being immediately nourished. Yeah. Let's say I'm going for connection. That might leave my need for independence, or let's say creativity, because I want to do things a certain way, undernourished in that moment. Yeah, which is okay. It might bring up some humor. It might bring up some other things. So these like little buckets, they get all filled. Yeah, say beautiful. Every decision fills a couple of buckets and leaves alone a couple of other buckets. So every decision has its pros and its cons. And all I can do from my part is to say what is possible, what is within my lines of integrity in the ethical sense, and do I have almost a bundle of needs in mind, and do I sense out what is necessary right now? Yeah, what is necessary right now? Not right, but maybe the closest and most appropriate response to my needs, knowing that the others might be beautiful as well. I hope that was a bit helpful, Jasmine. Nicola is writing. Oops. There's an old biblical word, cleave, which is used to describe the way a man shall cleave to his wife, a woman shall cleave to her husband. It's distinct from clinging. Yeah, thank you, Nicola. That's interesting. Not a word in my English language yet. Maybe a sense of loyalty, and let's break that down to maybe a sense of deep care and commitment. A relationship can take many forms and constellations over the years. Yeah, what does not necessarily have to change is a deep sense of care. Yeah, a commitment to care in whatever constellation and format that relationship currently has. Just a couple of thoughts arising. Yeah, Sally is writing, may your kind words like these shared with us be yours at this time. The speechless, popped up. The speechless full moon is here now. Oh, yeah. That maybe applies to this not knowing and not having to answer it all. Thank you. Patricia is writing, or Ulster is writing, that this was very helpful for me after I left my favorite knapsack on a train in Holland 2 days ago. Yeah, I need to quieten my tendency to check the lost property list every few minutes. Yeah, and what is underneath that? Maybe a real sense of grieving. And sometimes we deny this to ourselves because, well, it's just objects. Yeah, to say, maybe it's not just objects. Maybe there is image and memory and feeling qualities and all that connected to it. Maybe it's time to grieve the lost items, yeah, and to allow space for that. Yeah, thank you. Rivka is writing, how can one be less clinging and attached to the constant thoughts about the Israeli hostages lives in Gaza? Thank you. Yeah, challenging one. What is underneath that? Maybe a real, what I feel, come from my perspective on that, really being shaken up about what people, not pointing any fingers, what people can do with other people. Yeah, broadening up the context here, and to say how shocked are we sometimes, and how much are we grieving sometimes about how humans treat each other, what is possible within this world with each other, and to be with this hard mind which is grieving and shocked and feeling a bit helpless, yeah, and overwhelmed with it all. Maybe it's the turning away from the content and to the response of the own heart mind and taking care here, yeah, taking care. We of course might need to distract at times, because going here into our heart minds and being and listening to that response to what is going on might be definitely overwhelming at times. But to listen to that and to acknowledge that and to acknowledge the frailty and the hurt which can grow within us at times when we care, I find that very important. Thank you, Rivka, for asking. Connie's writing, thank you for your teachings and reflection. Yeah, thank you for mentioning how the body is a slow animal. I've been unsure about this agitation and tiredness in the body, and the mind has been trying to figure it out and find answers for it. The body didn't speak or answer. I noticed when I rested my attention on the breath, I noticed a pleasant feeling tone on feeling the gentle rising and falling of it. Then I said to myself, it's okay to like this, within a smile, then moving on. I noticed there wasn't the thought of wanting it or to continue or wishing I always breathed that way. Yeah. On noticing the absence of this kind of thoughts, there was a gentle contentment about it, calming, pleasant, resourcing, but very subtle, beautiful. There is something so beautiful when we arise as a real resource, when we can be nourished by the subtle in our practice. It doesn't have to be fireworks, it doesn't have to be intense, and it doesn't have to be in your face a lot of the time, but it can be held in something as pleasant as just breathing. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Connie. So I'm not making all your beautiful questions this morning. I'm doing the last one by Helena, and then I'm copying Heidi's question for tomorrow. Spaciousness is such a helpful concept. It's kind of the opposite of urgency. Beautiful. Spaciousness seems to be related to flexibility too. The idea that we have options. It also seems to be related to non-judgment. Yeah. And finding all this physicality in the body. Yeah. Great. Experiment a lot with spaciousness, because that is what we lose when craving and clinging and urgency and push and pull is intense. So to remember how spaciousness feels like, yeah, wonderful reference system for it. Okay, Judy, I see that you raised your hand. Would you like to send me either private message or try again tomorrow, because I want to be respectful of your time? Here is my email address again. And I wish you a lovely day. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the difference between response and reaction, another very interesting theme. And I'm wishing you all a very, very lovely day. May you be well. Thank you.